Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the rabbit hole number 3. So, today we are talking about dealing with accidental trolls, and I will explain what I mean by that when we get to that section. So, as always, I am Kirsten Rourke, and I am here to talk about ongoing mastery of presenting and training skills that includes stagecraft, that includes face, body, voice, performance, the script, the way you deal with the audience, all the things. And today I am continuing on the rabbit hole that I'm going to be taking everybody from LawTube to PassionFlix. And in the process of that rabbit hole journey that I personally went on, I will be talking about tricks and tips and thoughts on presenting skills, ways to connect with audiences, all the pieces that I think are important to people who are doing training, who are doing presenting, who want to get into public speaking, who want to stream on YouTube, any of the things. So today we are talking about this. Let me throw this little thumbnail up here. Dealing with accidental trolls. And as you can see on the left, I am again sticking with the LawTube community. So in the previous episode, I introduced you to the woman that I consider the queen of LawTube, Emily D. Baker, and we talked about the power of community and how she and Rob of Law and Lumber and Ian Runkle of the Bailey all have this really amazing connection with their communities and how that feeds into the ongoing mastery journey that you can have for your skill set. So today what we're talking about is accidental trolls. So let's go ahead and throw this up here. And I'm going to put in a little transition. Just to make it a little bit easier to put in the breakers, I've got automatic chapters turned on, but I want to see if I need to go through and actually manually do them, if that will be a little bit better. And so the transitions help me. That's why I'm doing that. So what is, when I am talking about presenting and training and today's topic, what is an accidental troll? An accidental troll is a person in your audience who may not actually mean to be giving you a hard time. They might be angry, they might be frustrated, they might be confused, they might just be knowledgeable and be really, really determined to share that, but they throw off your flow, or they are in some way an impediment to the journey that you are trying to take people on. And I say accidental trolls because most of the time, people don't actually realize they're doing it. And especially now with live streaming on the internet, the number of people that really feel like that they have not only the right, but the, core need to tell YouTube creators how their streams should go is pretty amazing. And that's one of the things I wanted to bring up today, because that happens to all of the people in the LawTube community that I'm going to be talking about. So Emily D. Baker, Rob of Law and Lumber, Ian Runkle of the Bailey, Kurt of Uncivil Law. We're going to be doing all of that. We'll also get into Hogue Law and the fantastic, wonderful stuff that he does. So what I want to do, and the reason, by the way, I need to just check one thing, and I'm going to do mistakes in front of you because I want presenters to see that you don't have to have it perfect. So I'm looking something up on the internet. There we go. Rick of Hogue Law. I was spacing on his name, so I just paused and went Hogue Law. But really, we're calling out first names. We're talking about people like they're people. So it's Rick of Hogue Law, who is, from all appearances, just the sweetest, kindest, most decent human being. So we've talked about accidental trolling. Now, for this piece to make sense, what I need to do is give you some context for it. I have a very particular point of view that I bring to my videos, and I also brought to the journey that I went on in this stage, in this step, because there was a very specific introduction to this community that I had. So the context that you need is that I was raised in the 60s and 70s by a Birkenstock wearing liberal feminist single mom. So if you wanted a kid who was playing dulcimer and arguing about politics, that was me. That's the context you need to understand for this next part. The thing about this next part is it is pretty divisive. And so I'm going to throw up this. If you want to be pissed off, this is probably the clip you're going to want to use because we're going to be talking about the case that was Amber Heard and Johnny Depp and the Depp Heard trial, which was my introduction to LawTube. Now, as I said earlier in my context, I have a very specific point of view. So I came to this case certain before I knew anything, before I saw the case, before I had facts other than the internet, I was certain because, like many people of many gender identities, I have had sexual violence in my past. So I was certain that the woman had been abused, famous woman had been abused by famous boyfriend. And I went specifically pissed off, ready to, see my point of view justified. And what I found was a community of law experts who all follow a very particular behavior, which is they have points of view, but they are willing to change. They are willing to argue. They're willing to debate. They're willing to have their minds altered. And they do that based on argument and facts. And so all of the streams that I followed on this very specifically said, let's wait. Don't have judgment yet. It's really hard to not have judgment yet, but wait to see what comes up. And in the course of the trial, I changed my mind when I watched the woman, the famous woman, Amber Heard, give her testimony, and I saw the structure around it and some of the details around it. My entire perspective on it changed. And I now have a completely opposite point of view about that case. Now, the reason I have this framework is because this is very divisive for a lot of people. And there are going to be people who absolutely are pissed at me about that. And you are welcome to. We are all allowed our feelings. But I need you to understand that this particular shift from absolute certainty to, oh, wait a minute, I think I was wrong about that, is really what the benefit of LawTube is. When you come in and you start meeting different folks, Emily D. Baker's former prosecutor, her way of dealing with the accidental trolls in her community, in her mentions, and so on, is to be very upfront about who she is, what her voice is, what her perspective is. And she will get fairly regularly, like almost once a week, it seems like, somebody in the chat all pissed off because they come to her comments YouTube channel where she is live streaming commenting, and they get mad at her for commenting. So they want to see the case, and instead of going to watch the feed of the case, they go to a comment stream by a LawTuber who talks during it and breaks it and pauses and explains things, and they get upset that they're talking over stuff and interrupting. And she is gracious as hell about it, far more gracious than I would be, and says, this is probably not the stream for you. So the first thing that I want you to take away in an ongoing mastery journey today, as a presenter, as a trainer, as a speaker, is that you need to own your room, and you need to know exactly what the rules of engagement are and to stick to them. Now, that means that you might need to kick somebody off of your, Zoom channel. Like if you're doing a Zoom meeting and somebody comes in and they are really a problem, you may have to boot them. If you are in a room of people and somebody is seriously out of line, you may need to just say this, I'm sorry, you need to step out. Now, that's pretty extreme. So normally what you can do is get a little more subtle about it and maybe take the person aside at break. Or maybe if you're live streaming, say, I see that you have that opinion. I disagree with it. Hang out if you want to see more. If you don't, you welcome to move on. Have a great day. But you really need to own your room. That's one of the first most important things that you need if you are going to be doing success and really connecting with audiences and really achieving what you need as a trainer, presenter, public speaker. So from Emily D. Baker, Law and Lumber, Rob has a slightly different way of dealing with things because he often has on his stream Ian. And then you will see other people pop up like Kurt. Now, Ian is irreverent as hell. He is fantastic and wonderful. If I ever meet him, I'm buying him all the drinks because he is super mouthy and I adore it. There is a rule on YouTube that when you are streaming, you really can't get into the cursey stuff until about the 2-hour mark. So they actually really, Ian even has the spice will flow graphic that comes up when he's like, okay, I'm going to let it loose. But they will be very, very honest about stuff. They will even break out and do debates with each other on stuff. And because both Rob and Ian are very upfront about their ADHD, they will cut each other off, which makes people uncomfortable. And people often misunderstand and think that they don't like each other or they're fighting when really they're the closest of friends. And this is how they communicate. Now, I mention uncivil law and Kurt because Kurt is, in my opinion, again, my opinion, probably one of the more divisive figures in LawTube community. Not as divisive as Ricada, who is definitely on the far end of if you want, you want to see the extremes, there you go. But Kurt definitely gets a lot of people pissed off. If I ever have the wonderful opportunity to meet him in person, I will certainly buy him a drink. We will have fun, exciting conversations and probably disagree and have some really uncomfortable, awkward moments where we piss each other off. Because he is in a slightly different worldview and perspective than I am. When he comes on Rob's streams, because he is a very clear communicator and has a very definite point of view, a lot of Rob's chat will sometimes get upset. And some of them adore him. Some of them are totally neutral. Some of them hate him. And the reason I was inspired to do this talk today was because of something that I saw on a stream that Rob did, which was chef's kiss, perfection. He saw some people having a fit because Kurt has some opinions that come across to people as misogynistic. I don't think they're intended that way. I don't think that at all. He is a brilliant mind. He is one of the true minds to go to on constitutional law. And he seems to be a very passionate, very deep-minded person who has a lot of care for people. He also expresses things sometimes in a way that makes me want to reach through the internet and smack him one. But that's just how things are. And everybody has their personality. I have mine. I refer to myself in person when I'm doing speaking as I'm a strong cup of coffee. I am not for everybody. And if within 5 minutes of this, you find that this is not the breakout session that you want to have, I will not be offended if you leave. And the last breakout session that I did, somebody left at the 5-minute mark. Everyone else stayed and we had a great time. But for that person, no, I was not it. So you need to own your room. You also need to do what Rob did. What Rob did was he saw that people were upset with Kurt in chat and he stopped what he was doing and said, all right, I need you to understand that he is my friend and this is my channel and he is welcome here. And I will occasionally, if I disagree with people, we will discuss it. We will argue about it. If I think somebody's out of line, I will call them out on it here on the channel. But if you want me not to have someone on because you don't like them and you think I should ban them, which is what some of the people were saying, then this is not the stream for you because that's not how we do things here. And that was the example, the absolute case study example of owning your room and dealing with accidental trolls, because that's what you have to do. You have to be completely clear and completely upfront about what the rules are and let everybody know how things need to be handled. It is hard to do in a public speaking setting. It is really hard to be standing there and being exposed, or to be broadcasting like this and being exposed. But that's part of the game. Now, Rick of Hogue Law comes into this because he leads with a particular phrase, which is reasonable minds can differ. Let me try that one again. Reasonable minds can differ. And he very much has a LawTube presence and not probably a personal preference, in his life. He is not a cursy person. He is someone who is very careful. He's been very cautious. And now that he is post-stroke, he's dealing with the fact that he is more expressive and more verbal than he's been in the past. And that's a challenge for him. And he's been upfront about it. He has on his channel his stroke journey, which has saved people's lives because of him being completely vulnerable and completely present. And people have actually gone and gotten identified and caught strokes before they happened because he did that. So prior to his stroke, he was friends with this community, and he would say, okay, reasonable minds can differ. I have all these people on here. They're sometimes going to get heated. And there have been moments on some of the streams where you saw people and you're like, okay, that's a little cringeworthy. You need to take that one down a notch. And he very graciously would be like, okay, and we're going to go back to the topic now. So owning your room is the most important point of all of this. How do you deal with accidental trolls? You know what the rules of engagement are. You are clear about it with your audience. You need to plan in advance. So point number 2, you need to know how to deal with them when you get them. Are you allowed to boot them off your stream? Are you allowed to kick them out of the room? If not, do you need to call somebody in? What are the rules of the place that you're presenting or speaking? Because you need to know that before you go in. And number 3, and this is the most important part, okay? I'm going to transition here. The most important part of this stream. Number 3, what you absolutely have to do is practice in advance dealing with trolls, dealing with questions, dealing with curveballs. It is unbelievably offensive to me that one of the things that happens to presenters and trainers is they are put out live in front of an audience and told, well, just tell them they'll take questions later. No, wrong, no, not how it's supposed to be done. You need to do hot potato. You need to practice having things thrown at you and dealing with it offline, away from the audience. Before you're in front of people on camera, or before you're in front of people on a stage or in a classroom, you need to practice these skills, because you have to be able to adapt in the moment without suddenly breaking out into bright red face and sweating and feeling like you're going to die, which is what happens when you do it the way we've always done it. The way we've always done it is we put people in the room and we tell them, oh, just make them wait till later. No, wrong. Stagecraft. You have to practice doing the flex. You have to practice dealing with the accidental troll, the question you're not expecting. You have to practice dealing with curveballs. And there are plenty of techniques that will help you do that. If you're not sure, look up the idea of a parking lot. You can put something aside. But when you do that, you need to be 100% clear with that person that you are not disrespecting them, that you will address this. You're just not going to address it in this moment because you have a flow to follow. There is an art to this. and it requires practice. I'm going to go ahead and throw this term box up. What is practice? Practice is not just reading your script, not just knowing your topic cold, not just knowing what your outlines are. Practice is getting other trainers, other speakers, other people, your dog, your cat, your mother-in-law to sit in a room with you and you go, okay, here's what I'm doing, da, 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 da. And then either if they can, your cat probably can't talk, so that won't help you, but a human could throw a question at you. Or you can pull out an index card that you have or a notebook or something online and just suddenly be like, this comes up. How do you deal with it? Okay, that's a great question. I'm talking about X right now. We are going to be dealing with that at this point. So here is what I'm going to do. And you have to practice making those transitions with people. You have to practice dealing with people who bring in stuff that is just beyond the scope of what you're covering today, or completely inappropriate, or just batshit nuts. You have to practice doing that. You have to put yourself on the hot seat, hot potato, throw things back and forth. Do it with other trainers, do it with other presenters. Don't do it live in front of the audience the first time, for the love of all things holy. Okay? The most important point of today. So, how you deal with today's rabbit hole, the accidental troll. Own your room. Practice. Absolutely practice. Okay? Get other people together. Give yourself the ability, know what the rules of engagement are. Okay? Those are the things I want you to take away from today. And as always, I'm going to go ahead and put up this, like, share, and subscribe. I am trying to build out my YouTube channel. I had 27 when I started subscribers. I think I'm up to a whole 41. Yay. Thank you, all 41 people. I adore you. Thank you so much. I need to get to the thousands to be able to do what I want to do and make a change in the world that I want to make. So please like, share, and subscribe. I will be doing this every Tuesday and Thursday. I am live streaming right now to YouTube, to LinkedIn, and to Facebook. So please go ahead and put something in the comments. I will be connecting with you in the comments and in the chat. And other than that, I will see you next week. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great weekend.